So Benjamin Albright, who's an NFL insider and all this good kind of stuff, had put a tweet out, I guess, and this was from somebody else, but quoting Benjamin Albright, who's one of these NFL nudniks and all that kind of stuff. Quote: Teams I'm told that are interested with the possible capital to pull off a trade for Hopkins, meaning DeAndre Hopkins, include but aren't limited to the New England Patriots, the New York Giants, the Tennessee Titans, and the Atlanta Falcons. So I asked the question, does DeAndre Hopkins, is that a piece that the Falcons should really be looking at to add to it? Now, again, when you look at his contract, and this will obviously, part of this would have to be reworked because right now he has a 30.75 cap hit for this year, and then he's got a 26.215 cap hit for next year. So he's almost 31 million on the cap this year and 26 million on the cap next year, with a dead cap number this year of almost $23 million. Now, the other part of this too is that there are reports that the Arizona Cardinals, and this is a quote, want, quote, a second round pick plus, unquote. Okay. So either that's a second rounder and an additional pick, or something a little bit better, which is obviously a first round pick, and then they won't probably take any other compensation for it all. Okay, look, do I like DeAndre Hopkins as a player? Yes. Okay. Is this team in the business of adding a $30 million wide receiver where you have to give up any draft capital? No. Like, again, if Hopkins was a free agent and he was coming here to play for a year at $9 or $10 million, sure, I'd be all for that. But even giving up a second round pick and then trying to figure out what his contract is going to be, I don't want any of that. Like, DeAndre Hopkins is one of those teams that is a luxury when you get to a certain level, right? Like, he's one of those guys that should be on like the Chiefs or somebody like that. Listen, A.J. Brown last year became a $100 million wide receiver when he was traded to the Philadelphia Eagles. And right, they were paying him, I think 25, I think it was 4 for $100 at $25 million a year or whatever the contract was. We have certainly some of the draft capital, and we certainly have some of the cap space. I think right now that the Falcons are, I don't know, 22, 23, $25 million, below the cap. I mean, that they've got money to spend, right? And again, when you're talking about $22 million, $5 or $6 million is allocated to your draft picks. You probably keep $5, $6, $7, $8 million in reserve. The Falcons had $9 million to spend going into last year. And if they don't use that 5, 6, whatever million dollars, they'll roll that into next year's money. They have that much more to spend or whatever like that. But at this point, when you start talking about the DeAndre Hopkins of the world, those guys are luxury pieces. This is like hanging a chandelier in a house that doesn't have a footing or a frame to it, right? Like, if you're chandelier shopping and your concrete slab and your studs aren't up and you have a roof over your head, right? Why are you buying chandeliers right now? I need plywood. I need insulation. I need shingles. I need concrete, right? I need all of those things first before I start chandelier shopping. And that's what DeAndre Hopkins is. And yes, just because the Falcons have draft capital or money to spend and things like that doesn't mean that he's a good fit for the Atlanta Falcons. Again, if he was a free agent for $8 or $9 million, okay, if he would play for that little money and come to Atlanta and be a part of something and maybe be on a 2-year deal where you can get out of it in 1 year, okay, because we do have a little bit of money to spend. Okay, I mean, sure, in that kind of sense. But if I'm giving up a second round pick, I mean, let's say it's a second and a fifth round pick, and I've got to absorb that contract and figure out what that number is going to be, because it certainly won't be a $31 million cap hit. It's not going to certainly be that. But if I have to absorb and figure, it's not worth it. It's not worth it. It's chandelier shopping, and I don't have a roof over my head, right? Like I don't have a place to hang the chandelier. Even if I bought the nicest, most luxurious chandelier in all of the world, if I don't have a place to hang it, and it's going to stay out of the rain, what difference does it make? What good is that chandelier? It just sits in a box in a garage or something and just takes up space. Again, I get my mind blown on some of these things. What do we not understand about why we don't win in the NFL? What we've had 5 straight losing seasons. What do we not understand about why we don't win? What do we when I see these nudniks get all these players and things like that, why do you think we don't win? Why do you think that when I see a DeAndre Hopkins linked to the Atlanta Falcons, why do you think we don't win? What's the reason for all that? Do we have our foundation built? Offensive line, defensive line, quarterback. That's the way you win in the NFL. That's the tried and true way. How many times do I have to sit here and say 3 quarterbacks, 2 different head coaches, not first-round quarterback picks? The San Francisco 49ers, 5 of the last 10 NFC championship games. Why? Because they're in the business of being great at the line of scrimmage. The Chiefs are great in the business of being really good at the line of scrimmage. The Eagles are great because they're in the business of being good at the line of scrimmage. Everything else is mishkas. Yeah, once you get all of these other things figured out, then you can start adding the A.J. Browns of the world and this guy and that guy, right? But it doesn't make any sense for this team who doesn't throw it, who called more run plays than pass plays in this league. When you look at the Bengals and the Chargers, who are 75% pass, 25% run, 70-30 pass the run, it doesn't make a lot of sense. So again, just because you have some resources doesn't mean you go out there and start spending that kind of money, draft capital, whatever, to make it all happen. Do I like DeAndre Hopkins? Yes. Do I want to get in the business of DeAndre Hopkins? No. And I don't think the Falcons should be either, despite whatever tweet or post or whatever some insider has to say about it. All right, let's talk about our friends over at Built Bar. Listen, we've got a fun thing going on right now. If you go to BuiltMarchMadness.com, you can get in on the vote for your favorite bar or puff. The Built March Madness bracket is here. Go to BuiltMarchMadness.com to vote for some of your favorites. And when you vote for your favorite bar or puff, you're going to be entered into a drawing where 50 lucky Locked On listeners get a free box of Built Bars, whether the protein-infused marshmallow puffs, your traditional protein bars, whatever it is that you're wanting. And then we also have where, if you vote for your favorite bar or puff, one lucky Locked On fan is going to win a 12-month subscription to have the best Built Bars or puffs delivered monthly straight to your door. So you can go to Built.com today, check out all of the details, but go to the BuiltMarchMadnessBracket.com and vote for your favorite bar or puff, where you're entered into a chance to win one of 50 boxes of Built Bars or potentially that grand prize of a 12-month subscription. We're trying to eat better. We're trying to get in shape. Go to Built.com today.